probably picked up that wind. Chicken out. Yep, pull it for me.
In 1 mile, the destination is on your left, Harrell Cemetery.
Harrell Cemetery. Now in the Slam Hill. She ended up back out here. What's up, boys? Cutting hay over here. Better not be in my kinfolk.
The destination is on your left, Harrell Cemetery.
Right here she is. Harrell Cemetery. It's a very well kept cemetery. Right here in Summers. So we're close. I mean, we're not far. Can't be 3 or 4 miles from the Oklahoma border. Arkansas. Wow. I'm trying to see if I can see her. I've seen it so many times in that picture. I'm trying to see if I can see it. This is a very nice cemetery. Quiet and peaceful. I'm gonna say that right yonder is where it is. I'm totally guessing. Those are Simmons. These are Wilkinsons. Those two were Simmons. I'll never look at it. I'm sure Grandpa, shoot, her own son, Clement Sr., man, never even known where she was buried at. She died in 1888, and he lived 1867 out here. So these were all people. Williams, Harold, Smith, Simmons, Williamson or something. Albert Harvey. Noakes. L-K-E-S. Brady. I bet it was Brady. That's how they spelled it. Brady on that one. Addison. Right here she is. That is my 4th great grandmother. This is crazy. Without her, there is no Spurgeons on Sand Mountain. Maybe Shorty Spurgeon, Floyd, but the rest of us don't exist without Rachel. She was born in 1801 and was living in Pikeville, Tennessee, Bledsoe County, when Jacob Spurgin came along and met her. Her husband, David Spring, had passed away. She hooked up with Jacob and went to Fort Payne, DeKalb County, homesteaded land, went to Newton, Texas, homesteaded land, and ended up here. Oh, let me see this part. Nancy Spring, March 1825. That's her daughter. That's her daughter. That's born in Bledsoe County. And here's Nicholas. So are they all buried right here? He was born in 1825. He was born in Mayfield. How was she born? March 13th. Something ain't G-Haw in there. She had, if her daughter Nancy was born March 13th, 1825, her son Nicholas Spring, born May the 5th, 1925. Oh, damn. There's nothing on there. Alright, I got a ciphering to do here on this. There's some ciphering to do. Yeah, so, yeah. Now, she has a son. He may have left Bledsoe County and came out here, Nicholas, but she has a son buried behind the new Fort Payne Elementary School. There's a graveyard behind it. She has a son buried there, and she has a daughter in Valley Head. I can't think of who she married, what her last name is now, but pretty sure her name was Margaret. But so she has 2 kids for sure in DeKalb County, and they're showing 2 right here. She was a Rainey. Rachel, her maiden name was Rainey. Her father fought in the American Revolution, and he married, after the Revolution, he married a Chloe Malone, and they came from North Carolina into Bledsoe County and homesteaded that land up at the very head where the Sequatchie River begins. And they're still buried there. And her first husband, David Spring, is still buried there. But Jacob came along, and I'm pretty sure there was some kind of ordeal. Because she inherited like 20 slaves. There's a bow. Charlie, calm down. Come here. Get out here and get on a bear. There was some kind of land. She had a bunch of land, a bunch of slaves. They was dividing it up between the family and whatever. But apparently she just took off and moved with Jacob once they got married down to DeKalb County. Jacob actually homesteaded 80 acres. I think it was 80 or 120. That's now part of the town of Valley Head. Then he left there, went to Newton, Texas. There was a timber boom going on in Texas. And I got to find his grave next, but they think anything I can find, he may be buried in Newton, Texas. Or he might be buried out here. Because she had, once she met, these kids here are with her first husband, and the 2 in Fort Payne. When she met Jacob and they got to Fort Payne, she had 4 more kids. She had Lemuel, who possibly could have had a twin sister. That's yet to be determined. But for sure, she had Lemuel, she had Adolphus, she had Clement C., which I call Senior, but he wasn't. His Senior wasn't part of his name. He's buried at Flat Rock. And she had Virginia Eleanor, who actually ended up out here as well. So when the Civil War started, they all left Texas. They came up here, every one of them, except for the old man, Jacob. I think he was too old. They didn't take him. And all 3 of them boys joined the Confederacy, became part of the Arkansas Mounted Rifles. And went off into the war. Lemuel came back after the war, raised his family. He married an Amanda King. I think that was her maiden name. They had a bunch of kids here. Adolphus got killed at the Battle of Richmond, Kentucky, and was sent. He didn't get killed at the Battle of Richmond, but he was wounded. He was sent to a Yankee hospital in Lexington, Kentucky, and they wouldn't take care of him. And as they died, they just threw them all in a ditch. So there's actually it's a hill. They actually threw about 50 bodies of Confederate soldiers in a ditch in Lexington Cemetery and covered them up. And they spelt his name Spergen. They tried to say Spurgeon best they could, Spurgen, whatever. That's how that different spelling got started. Part of it. But anyway, so he didn't do. Clement came back here after the war, married an Edith Thorne, and his little sister married a John Thorne. So his brother and sister married brother and sister, and they had a daughter. He married her right after he got out of the Civil War. In 1865 it ended. He married her in 66. And Laura Spurgeon was either born in 66 or the beginning of 67. Something happens. Clement Sr., the old man buried at Flat Rock, he ends up leaving here and going back to DeKalb County, homesteads land in Pisgah. Actually, Highway 71 runs right through it today. And it's right on the backside of Pisgah High School towards 71. I don't know what happens to that. And then those are some tuckers. They're all tuckered out. Then ends up getting the land over there where Marmaduke's store was. But he never comes back here. Apparently he never comes back. Nobody, this connection between his family here and all the Spurgeons, all of us that are out there on Sand Mountain today, is only because he left here for some reason after the Civil War. He may have been part, this is my personal thing, but if he was fighting up here around where the Civil War was taking place, and there was a lot of war crimes supposedly committed by some of the Southern rebels, Quantrill's Raiders. If he'd been part of that, they may have came hunting him, and he had to leave this part of the country and come down there. Because if he went back there, Sand Mountain, DeKalb, Jackson, Alabama counties, Dade County, Georgia, and Marion County, Tennessee was all pro-union. All that for the majority, all that area around there was pro-union. So he may have had some friends back there if he was in trouble, and he left here, never came back, because they would have hung him if there was something like that went on. I'm betting that it was. Here's a Parker son, 81827. So there was something like that. He ends up going back to Sand Mountain, and that's where he stays, and that's how all the rest of us this looks like. Let me get a bottle of water. Benny Campbell. Yeah, it ain't. I'm sure she knew all these people. All of them did. It's just very weird that it's right here. And roller. Sylvanus roller. Sylvanus roller. Sylvanus roller. M. Karen. 1866, 1941. Ain't been nobody buried here in a while. Karen. Yep. Anyway, it's a really beautiful place up here in these Ozarks. And if you're ever out this way, it ain't about an hour north off I-40 at Fort Smith, and it's well worth the ride. Here's a bond born in Tennessee. I'm just trying to find some kind of connection that if I've seen while doing all this research. William T. Bond, born in Tennessee, August 28, 1828. Died September 28, 1908. So they would, I guarantee you, he's right there around Pop and Bledsoe, Squatch County. Smith. Reuben. William T. Bond. Well, we'll go back over here and stare at her grave for a little while. But I'm going to see and find her daughter here in a little bit, a little south of here.